Hello and welcome to the Tiny Finger Takeoff. I'm so excited to introduce you to this course. This is a mega course. It's going to take you through an entire first year with a new young beginner. So I hesitated to call this a preschool course because really it's what Americans might call a pre-K to K kind of program. It's not really designed in any way that would restrict it from being used with even older students than 6, but it is specifically designed to slow the pace so that it works well for the under 6s. It's not specifically for 3-year-olds though. It's not that young in its pacing, and you will find a lot of stuff integrated here that will work with tons of different levels of students. The idea behind the Tiny Finger Takeoff is to create a but the pieces plan, something you do outside of the method book that helps you to slow down the pace of a method book even more when you need to, reinforce the things that younger students tend to need more teaching around. So things like steps and skips on the staff, finger dexterity, understanding the keyboard geography, all of that stuff is covered in this plan because when it comes to students who are 5 and under, they need to be taught that stuff. You can't just explain it and move on. It has to be really, really reinforced. So that's what this is designed to help you do. Now I say it's a but the pieces plan, it is. So it'll go along with any method book that you use. Don't worry if the exact order concepts are approached in doesn't perfectly align with your method book. That's totally fine. If some of the things you cover here are previews and they come in the method book later, that's fine. If some of them are review, that's fine. It won't affect your students' learning to learn about steps and skips before they get to them on the staff. In fact, it's actually really beneficial, and I love to introduce these things earlier than they get to them. So when they're still in the pre-reading stage is a great time for them to learn what the treble clef is, what the bass clef is, what a step or a skip looks like, and even a couple of landmark notes, so that when they get to the staff, it's nothing new, it's nothing they've never seen before, and they feel really confident approaching that and tackling it, and they get excited because they know about it already, and they're just excited to be reading on the staff that they've heard so much about. A couple of notes before we begin. When you are working with young students, it's very important that you approach technique in the right way. So you will need an adjustable bench or something to raise their height. This may be stuff you all know already, but if you're new to teaching preschoolers, you might not realize how far you're going to have to bring that height up, right? Because if you want their arms in that nice parallel position, they are going to be very, very high. In fact, I frequently am turning my bench all the way up to the maximum, which is quite high. And even for a 3-year-old, I would want a couple of padding solutions on top of that. So just be aware of that and try to find a solution that works for you. It doesn't have to be expensive. I know some teachers use carpet squares and they just stack them. I think that's a great way to do it. Anything that will get them up to that height is really important. And you'll need something for their feet. So I have this guide. This is called I've forgotten the name of it right now, but I'll put a link below this video. That is made in Wales, and it's a great little stool. I actually find it's not quite high enough for some of my students, so that's how high I need them to be, their feet to be up, right? So you're going to need something to put their feet on. It doesn't have to be a fancy pedal extender. I have one of those as well. I use a mix of both, and I'll use other things and get the parents to just get a box, flip it over. So if you have something like that, that's what you can do. Get a toy box and put it on its end so that they can put their feet on it. All that matters is that they have somewhere sturdy to rest their feet. It doesn't need to be fancy, but you do need to get those two things and get them in place so that your preschooler can be successful or your kindergartner can be successful at the piano, because otherwise you are going to be constantly frustrated by their technique because they're just not at the right height. So get that foundation in place and then jump in to lesson 1 with me, where we'll start exploring some of these keyboard geography concepts with our young beginner student.